Aloha, everyone, and welcome to Aquarian Radio, and I'm your host, Janet Lessin. And today is an episode of Skynet, and my guests today are Adrian Espinoza and Sean Fowler. And I'm trying to pull up their bios. Here we go. Let me see if I can pull it over here. I'm going to give you a brief description of who my guests are. I met Sean first, and Sean Fowler awoke to strange things and events that took place that changed his thinking and outlook on worldly views. He's been geeked down the rabbit hole more than once, and he began having memories of traumatizing events that started between the ages of 3 and 5, 5 and 6, sorry, I can't read, which made him question his sanity. So on July 13, 2014, he awoke to truth. He remembered he was experimented on. He thought his mother wasn't his biological mother, but his handler. And I might have this backwards, so Sean will explain that. But when he awoke, she asked him, do you remember the ET contact you had as a child? And he laughed, and he knew that he was headed for a journey that would last a lifetime. So she revealed his programs. He remembered torture, satanic ritual abuse, mind control, experimentation, as well as ET contact. And he's now began his healing, and as he heals, he's helping to heal others. He lives in South Carolina, and his upcoming book is My Awakening in 2014. And Adrian Espinoza met a Native American shaman who said a blessing over him. He then started to see numbers and codes, and these frequencies allowed him to perfect a system which he calls sacred geometry readings, and these codes allow him to reprogram your higher self so that you can find the highest joy, happiness, and clarity in your life. The codes help him visualize images, videos, and chat rooms from his current life, parallel life, and past lives. He's going to explain all this to us. And he's trained in divination, remote viewing, spell casting, Akashic readings. He has helped clients alter weight, increase muscle mass, enhance their bodies, enhance themselves sexually, increase desire, create soulmate connections, change timelines, vibrational levels, and astral planes. He interprets dreams, does angel readings. He channels ascended masters and more. Unlike most psychics, he uses a special Skynet computer software hooked into an internet database to enhance his reading accuracy. And he created the Circles of Life database, and this contains codes that identify blockages of energies in your relationship, career paths, and finances. So Adrian is going to explain all this, but first we're going to do a brief introduction. So Sean, I'll start with Sean because I met Sean first, and then we're going to pass our little virtual talking stick over to Adrian. He's going to take us through everything behind this Skynet system and how it works. So Sean Fowler, welcome to the show. Welcome to Skynet, the first episode of Skynet on Aquarian Radio. Hi, Sean. Aloha. Oh, wait, I think I have to, okay, sorry about that. When we go live, it blocks your mic. I forgot about that. I'm turning on the mic. Okay, now you can talk. Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
We're excited to have you here, both of you.
This is amazing because, you would never know, like later on in life, just like to skip a little ahead, that you'd be on a radio show with an individual that when I first awoke back in 2014 to what I call the rabbit hole and, walking down the yellow brick road and through Alice in Wonderland and realizing that the reality that I'm living in is many, many, many of times I've been here. I have many different, that I'm trying to figure out, and, since tonight's on Skynet, I'm going to really focus more on the Skynet with me, my own experience with that. The one thing is, I, at a young age, was placed on a medication, Ritalin. At 3 years old, I was placed on Ritalin. I'd have to go to the nurse's office when I was even on the air base at school 3 times a day. There'd be times where I would have to, go home because I'd have splitting migraines. I also, to just get it out there, there was a man that used to come to our school, and, I have rape involved in my story. I have a lot of things involved in my story, but like I said, I really want to stick more towards the Skynet part of this because this is where my healing started to take place. So I wake up back in 2014, and, I don't know what to do. I go for a regression, and things don't pan out the correct way. I start having mixed memories, spin-outs, strikes to the head, electromagnetic weaponry that's used through the military. I know that it was being done because, I'm proud to say it, and he tells me to mention his name no matter what, and that's Eric Mitchell, and he's dealt with something similar but with, extraterrestrial life, and also you never know, the military could be involved. So, but with me, the Skynet, it opened my mind. It was basically like Adrian, when I first reached out and spoke to Adrian about Skynet, I met a whole bunch of people, and it taught me a lesson. Not everybody, even in, in these positive, trying to help people, are all in it for the same reason. So I learned, and the funny thing is the only person I talk to now is Adrian, because Adrian understands the pain and suffering and torturing that I really went through, because he saw my spin-outs. He saw what happened to me. I was demonically possessed, before all of this. I mean, it was Nightmare on Elm Street. I was living in El Dorado, Kansas, known as, I call it El Dorado. That's what I call it, not El Dorado. And I walked into my fiance hanging from a fan. And if I wouldn't have walked in within a few seconds, there would have been, who knows? She could have been dead. But I always feel like something has been following me, and there's a calling for me, and I'm really geared with the Skynet. I got my file, which it's very interesting because it's like, it's correct me if I'm wrong here, Adrian. The options are the number of files per program, correct?
Yes, the options are programs that is part of the programs that has picked up energetically on each person. It's different, and it opens up information after information on a program that is in our DNA, and it picks up on it electronically. And so those who are part of the experiments, or anybody that's ever had abductions, it will pick it up energetically, and it will give us a view of people's inside missions that they're going through, whether it be parallel or it could be physical. And some people say they've claimed where they've actually had physical experiences, or they remember some of the information from the programs that they were part of, whether it be a project or an option. Projects and options are different types of programs, but we'll go over that in the class. And that's basically gives you more of an idea of what's going on.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
We'll have to slow this down and unpack it, because that's a lot of information, and that's what we're going to be doing. Listeners, we're going to be unpacking this over a series
I'm
of
just kidding.
Weeks.
It's weird because, like, when I'm learning now with a 2-hour show, it's like every show for me is getting better, it seems, because it's like with Skynet, I am upgraded. What is it, Adrian? Every 3 months you upgrade me. Like, I get an upgrade, psychically, my levels, I find myself levitating at times. I find myself being able to do easy tasks at times. I'm now breaking past the just wanting to sit in my house all day and stay in and, not go into public and, go to the store. I can do that now. But it took, some time now. And, when I first came out, this time I was a little angry, but I took a step back and I said, you know what? I need to, center myself in gravity and ground myself and start to understand what really is taking place. And why am I having these memories? And, Preston Nichols from Montauk had said, you question your own sanity, you're sane. And I've been doing that since 2014. I was doing that. And it's funny because, I kept denying the Montauk memories, but Adrian said something to me a couple months ago. It was interesting. He said something to me along the lines of, I asked him about Montauk. He said, yeah, do you remember we went to school out there, and all of a sudden, and we were taken to the base, you said, I think, somewhere along those lines, and I kind of got a flash of it.
So you knew Adrian, you knew each other from before. When did you first meet Sean, Adrian? What happened there?
I met Sean back in, what year was that, Sean? Was it back in
2014? 2004. 2005. Yeah,
okay.
Maybe. On an astral
I can't
level.
remember, but it's been quite a while back. But I worked with Sean for a long time, and I remember some of the super soldier missions I went on with Sean, and some of these, and a lot has updated since then, or a lot of information that's been recorded or updated in the AI. But I have seen a lot of super soldier missions with Sean over the years, and with the work that we've been doing and the research that me and Sean has done has been phenomenal, and we have definitely seen and done a lot on our missions. This was back in a school that I saw with Sean and James Rink, where I saw James Rink as a little boy, and he was dressed up in a hockey outfit. And I sent it to Peter, the insider, and Peter looked at it, and he said, tell Adrian, how did he get this information? How did he know? And it blew Peter away, and Peter was like, I want to talk to Adrian. And I explained everything to Peter, that it was all downloaded. And Peter was like, wow, you hit it right now on the head. This was the school James went to. This was the hockey class that James Brink went to. And it was all the same information that the ACIO had on James as well,
What is the ACIO? When we introduce a term, we need to explain what it is. Actually, we probably should go back and start from the beginning, because we're kind of jumping into the middle of the story. And it's like our people don't even know what this is really about. So how about we'll go, let's let Adrian give us a little bit of background, so people just tuning in that aren't familiar with the program. And I don't really know everything about it. So Adrian, what is Skynet, and how did you get involved in it?
Okay, so there's different types of organizations and different types of projects that we all
Sean,
came from, and one of the...
Can you mute, just because we're getting a lot of background noise, if you could mute Sean when you're not talking, that might help with the background noise. Okay, go ahead, Adrian.
So one of them is basically Skynet. The first one I discovered was called Skyline. So there was Skyline, Skynet, and Skyview. Now there was three that had a connection with all three connections, and whether in 3D or in another parallel reality. But these are all different types of organizations that connect with different types of cyborgs and AI, and also working with bots. but they're all connected in some way, shape, or form. The ACIO is a whole different organization. That was connected more with a lot of the types of terrestrials that have come here that they monitor. And it's an alien organization, intelligent organization that monitors extraterrestrials that come to our planet. It's sort of a little bit different than people think, like the NSA. That's a whole different organization. But the ACIO, they monitor any terrestrials that are on the planet Earth.
What does ACIO stand for?
Alien Intelligent Organization. It's
What's
basically
what's the C
they
stand
monitor
for?
the C.
Right. Yeah,
C,
it's called
Alien Encounter Intelligent Organization. Like they basically, the C is sort of like a computer network system. Basic is what it is. If you break down the words, there's actually a protocol. If you break down certain words, they actually all mean different things. Like A stands for activation, and C stands for computers, and the I stands for intelligent organization. So basically, it's obvious that they have some type of intelligence when it comes to the extraterrestrials, you know, of different types of alien hybrids that are here on Earth. And they monitor other off-world planets as well. They also work with the MIBs, which is the Men in Black. ACIO has different divisions. I believe that Peter the Insider was one of the highest divisions of the ACIO. He was Division 12. And I believe that the Men in Black are Division 11. So basically, they all work in different divisions, and they're all different types of agencies that work with the Alien Encounter Intelligent Organization. So basically, they work with different types of alien hybrids or species that come to our planet.
So let's back up a little bit, because I want to know a little bit more. How did you get involved with them? So tell a little backstory about who you are, what happened to you. I mean, you were born, and did they take you like a lot of the 20 back people? Were they take them when they were children, like Penny Bradley, or were you an adult when you were taken? How did you get involved as a super soldier, and then eventually the Skynet? Let's start with how you got involved.
Okay, well,
with the super
I'll
soldier
start
program.
I'll start with some of my memories. What I was told from Peter the Insider, that I was in another parallel reality. I was a director of the Skynet organization. But at that time, it wasn't Skynet, it was Skyline. And then I came back from another planet back to planet Earth to save Skynet. And I took over Skynet as a Skynet director. And I met this man named Alan. And Alan told me that he remembered me from my super soldier missions. Alan is from California, Los Angeles, and I met his team, and I know all the team name members. I met this guy named Skeeter, and there were some other team members that I met. They knew about Skynet, and somehow I started off on my mission from there. But I remember a lot from on this planet where I was working with Skyline at the time with this girl named Kat. Now, this girl named Kat, obviously, from what I know from her when I was introduced to Skyline before the beginning of Skynet, I was working with her and another one by the name of Heather. But this was I don't know if this was another parallel reality, but this was what was told to me from Peter the Insider. And he told me that I would become the director of Skynet again. And this was right after when he told me this, when I met Alan and I met Heather. And so when I was in California, I met the whole team, and they basically explained everything about my mission, about who I was, that I was set to help Skynet once again, and to bring the information forward to let people know that AI is not what it appears to be, that it was compromised at the beginning of when it was Skyline. But that's why I came back as a time traveler. My first screen name when I first started, it was actually in Skyline. My first name was Time Travel. Everybody called me Time Travel, and
Okay.
and eventually, and then I started learning about all these different types of projects that were tied in, like Project Pegasus, Project Kruger, Project Shoreline, Project Surrogate, Project Shutter Island, Project The Witchblade Project, and then I started realizing that I was part of all that. And then all my memories just started coming back. And so when I came back from Skyline, that's when I met Cynthia. I met some of the team that supported me through overtime, through my own Skynet. And then I told Alan, I said, I have a team now of people that you may recognize, maybe in your missions, that would like to be part of our team. And so ever since then, I've helped a lot of people, hundreds of people that have come to me that Peter couldn't do, because Peter finally decided that he wasn't going to do people's files anymore or information from the ACIO. And he basically passed down the knowledge, and he told James, I would like to have Adrian to start off on his mission, and I think he knew subconsciously that we were coming, because one thing that kept coming to me, like intuitively, I kept saying to Peter, we're coming, and Peter knew exactly what I was saying when I said that, and he knew that eventually we would take on the super soldiers upon ourselves. And we would start.
So let me slow this down a little bit, Adrian, because right now you're like in a download, and it's a lot of information, and we need to get some of the background, because were you born on this planet? Do you have a human memory? When and where were you born, and what was your birth name? And who are you? Or if you don't want to reveal that, but were you born as a human?
Yes, I was born as a human on this planet. I am the original. I'm not a clone, which I was told from the ACIO. And at first, this may sound kind of strange. Before the beginning of my awakening, I got into, this is a little bit about my background. I started out as a hypnotherapist and a stage hypnotist. And I was trained by the name of Rodney Maxwell. This is a little bit of my background information. And he was the one I give all the credit to by helping me to come to my awakening process, which I always knew that there was a bigger picture in everything, and I saw that there was down the rabbit hole, as you could say, like Sean was saying, that there's a bigger picture to everything.
When was Rodney born?
Rodney, he was born. I'm not sure what year Rodney was born, but I was born in 1983.
You were born in 1983, but Rodney's older?
Rodney is older, yes. Rodney is probably about in his 60s now. And Rodney was a trained, certified hypnotist and stage hypnotist, and he's the one who helped to awakening my awakening process.
And that's your body. You're still in Rodney's body, or?
What do you mean body?
Yeah, I asked about you, when you were born and where, and then you said you started out as a stage hypnotist his name is Rodney Maxwell, and he is in his 60s. So he was born in the 50s. I'm 65. I was born in 54. So born in the 60s, in the 50s.
Oh.
So,
Yeah,
he's like my
Rodney
contemporary.
was my mentor.
So he was your mentor. He's not you.
No, Rodney was my mentor that helped me to my awakening. And he was a certified hypnotist and hypnotherapist that helped me to my awakening process.
Okay.
And
so how did you meet Rodney? You were born in 83. And so you're much younger than he is. He was born in the 50s, so you were born 30-some years later. So how did you meet Rodney?
The way I met Rodney was okay. So back when I was 16 years old, I was really into martial arts, and that's the only thing that my mind was set on was martial arts. I didn't really get much into what hypnosis was until I used to go see them at this old town called Redwood, and we went there, and we used to go to this old theater called the Avalon Theater on State Street in Redwood. So we used to go to there all the time.
What state is Redwood?
That's in Utah.
Okay, Utah. Okay.
And we used to go to this old theater, and we would go see this hypnotist. Okay, this wasn't the same man though, the guy that was doing the shows, but he hypnotized my sister. And I thought it was so powerful. How could one person have so much control over someone's mind? And I told my father I would like to become a stage hypnotist. So I thought that this was the same guy, but it wasn't the same guy. Rodney was a different guy. But the guy that was performing was Rodney's mentor. And his name is Don Spencer. And Don Spencer was a really, really fast trained certified hypnotist and hypnotherapist and NLP certified through the National Guild of Hypnotism. And so when we trained with Rodney, he would tell us all about these different stories. So then Rodney had me come up on stage, and I started performing with him, and I started out helping with him with a crew of like 13 people that were in our class. And out of all these 13 people, he said that he was proud of us because we were the only ones that really took the initiative to go out and actually do stage shows and actually believe in ourselves that we could do it. Everybody else kind of struggled. So I kind of understood that, because it wasn't too long after that when I met with the class that they wanted us to teach or help with these students that wanted to really be on stage. And they really didn't know what it was like to really be on stage, because once you're on stage, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different reality, because you are not only held more responsible for what you do, but you are in the spotlight. You are the one that is actually controlling the mic and keeping your audience happy and showing them that you can keep them in a trance without them walking off stage. So that's the first thing that I learned, is that you have to be very aggressive when you're on the stage and realizing that you can keep them in a trance. And there was more factors to it, but I'm not going to really get in that. But I just wanted to mention that this was the beginning of my full awakening. I didn't know anything about spirits. I didn't know anything about energy. I didn't know anything about AI. This was the huge beginning of my awakening. And, and I give credit to Maxwell. And I always say this, in a lot of my videos when I do, when I'm on Facebook, but I give him a lot of credit for helping me to open up my eyes. And then after that, as time went on, I started learning what it was like to not just do stage hypnotist shows, but I've also learned what it's like to do supernatural things, because we did a lot of training in the supernatural. My first experience back when I was 16 years old, and this is a little bit more of my background. I had an experience where I did exorcisms, and I probably did almost close to 1,000 exorcisms back when I was 16 years old. And I would be called from house to house to house. And the worst one, I guess, really struck me. It was on a Halloween night, and it took 12 hypnotists to help this lady, which, normally it didn't take that many people that were part of our training. And some of the people that were in the next training after we were certified got to experience this exorcism. So it was kind of a little bit more aggressive, so I stopped doing that, and then I decided that I just wanted to do something different.
What was going on with this lady that she needed 12 hypnotists? What was her problem?
It was a little bit more of an aggressive experience. It was just a smaller lady, but this lady, her whole face and her eyes transformed, which I've never seen in an exorcism. Most exorcisms are not so aggressive like this one was, but this one was a lot more, because her eyes changed. She was levitating off the ground, and she was very strong. And one person even got their eye cut open that we were working with. Her name was Lori Jones. She's also a certified hypnotist. And there was other people that were thrown. One was bitten. So, it was kind of a more of aggressive, and then there was a lot of threats that were going on too. And all I remember is just the room turning black, and it turned really cold, and it was probably one of the worst experiences I had at the age of 16. But then I kind of got a rush from the first one. This was the very last one that I did. And then I realized it really wasn't much of a game. I was like, maybe I should stop. Maybe it's wearing on my health. I shouldn't do these exorcisms anymore. And I would be called from house to house with different clients, or people that have had abuse in their homes, or people that have had drug addictions, or people that have never had any kind of spirituality. And we would go to these homes, and we would smudge them, we would pray over them, we would bless them, and then we would do the exorcism. And it was the same kind of exorcism that you can do with hypnosis, just as much as you can do like a priest. There's different ways you can do it.
Let me interject something right here. Let me just interject a couple things. This is very interesting. I didn't know this about you. My sister-in-law is the president of the International Hypnosis Federation, and she has a long history of doing stage hypnosis. My husband and I are both certified. My husband has like 40 years experience being a hypnotherapist, and we've done exorcisms, and they've happened here with clients that have come to my home. And I had one, I went out to go to the bathroom, I came back, and the Satan, like the typical horns and all that stuff face, was overlaid the person's face. It was the most amazing thing, and I thought his head was going to turn.
Yeah.
But my husband has. It didn't. I've not experienced like you experienced the violence. There's something that my husband does that he studied with Bill Baldwin at the exorcisms and stuff, and he gets him to go very peacefully. The possession. They just part very peacefully. But we all think of The Exorcist, right? And the little girl's head.
Right.
So, that's amazing. Didn't know that about you. Okay, so you decided at 16, you actually were retiring from that at 16.
Oh, yeah.
You lived a whole lifetime by the time you were 16. That's amazing. Okay, so what happened next?
Yeah. And it's funny because most of all my family that would never do anything like that because they would, I mean, I could see me and my sister are twins, and I could see that if she experienced something like that, she probably wouldn't sleep the rest of her life. But for me, it was almost like turning on the light and turning off the light, and I slept on the light for years after that experience, and I can honestly say, it frightened me to that point to stop doing what I was doing. And yeah, I mean, familiar spirits, that can be a form of exorcisms too. I've dealt with familiar spirits and I've dealt with demonic spirits. And the most demonic spirits can be a little more, as you say, aggressive.
Right.
And there's a lot of safety factors that's involved in that. Because the thing about demonics is that you have to be very aggressive and you can't show any fear. It's like a dog, but it's a lot more worser experience. And it's always best to have someone there with you to help you through the experience, because it can be like Sarah Blair. I mean, it can turn into that, and I didn't believe that until I saw my last experience. That's how bad it was,
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so you moved on from The Exorcist and turning heads and people getting hurt, and so what was the next step in your path?
And being spit on
and being spit on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean the green goose stuff and being spit on and sworn at and this and that. Yeah, and that's how aggressive it became, and I've never seen anything like that, because most of all my other experiences were a lot of familiar spirits and low demonic spirits, but this one was probably a lot worse, because before I had the experience, we saw an image in the sky. In a black cloud of a demonic entity. And the next day when we did the exorcism again, she told us all to look up. And none of us looked up. She said, look up, you'll see what you're going to see. And none of us wanted to look up, so we just sat straight, and I was just paying attention to the exorcism. But it was it was a very frightening experience for me,
Yes. Amazing you did that. So you moved on from that. What was the next thing that happened? So you grew up with this paranormal life, and this is in the middle of Utah, which is all Mormon.
Yes. Yes, and there's a lot of there is a lot of Satanists that live here in Utah. And it's not just Mormon, but they actually have many Satanist temples in the city, which I walked out and I've actually seen people wearing upside-down pentagrams on their shirts, and they're actually showing it during the day now, and there is a lot of rituals that are going on in the Mason temples as well, from what I've been told. I had an experience where I was actually kicked out of the Mason temple. Me and my father went there to do a reading, and they had an event. We got invited from some random strange guy. We went there and we set up the event, and this guy comes out and he had like red eyes, and he just like, and he looked possessed too, and he was just like, you need to go now, you need to go, or we're gonna call the cops, like he was like one of the head Masons. I don't know who he was, but he just told us, pack up your stuff and go now. And as we were leaving, I met a lady from Ogden, Utah. Her name is Cassandra. She prefers Cassandra because she changed her name. But her real name is Diana Sue, and she's from England. And the way I met her is I actually met her at a convention, psychic convention, and she actually introduced herself. She told me and my father to go to her house, and she says, I need to teach you some things. And she taught us a book called The Sacred Contracts by Carolyn Myers. And she had the board, she had the dice, she had everything. She had all the teachings and all the classes. She met with Carolyn Myers. And she taught me and my father a lot about our sacred contracts, which I didn't know anything about, and but going back to the Mason thing, one night she walked into the Mason temple with another random strange guy. We don't know who he was because she's married. And she walks in there and she comes out and she was terrified. She says it was the most terrifying experience that she ever had in her whole life. She said people were having sex rituals, people were doing demonic things, satanic things, and she said she even had a sing "I'm a child of God" because she said it was so frightening. She said she was terrified, and it changed her whole life experience. And up until now, she changed her identity, her name, everything, just changed in her life,
So
but
this
I
was
noticed
in the
that
Masonic Lodge. You're saying this is what's going on. Is this internationally what goes on in Masonic lodges, or just in Utah?
that's what they're saying. They're saying it's internationally. They have these sex orgy rituals that go on. And a lot of the Masonic, in a lot of the Masonic buildings. Some people say it's the Goddess Festival. That's what they call it. But they host it every once in a while, and they're recruiting a lot more younger generation people than they used to recruit a lot of people. And these are all part of their, whether you can call it monarch rituals that they do. That's all connected to their satanic rituals. So, and that's a normal process what they do when it comes to sex rituals. And the reason for that is because when I was learning about, you met Stuart, but he was talking about it in his book, how when he was talking about the sexual deprogramming. And then I go back to basically what some of these Masonic people are doing, behind closed doors. But if you're not invited, they will ask you to leave. And we were invited. I don't know who invited us, but you're supposed to be invited by one of the head people, But they did ask us to leave, and she stayed. She came out, and she said she was terrified, But she
interesting.
Wasn't the same
What's interesting, my family on both sides are Masons, but I never knew what was going on. I have a thing I recalled, and I'm not going to go into it now, under hypnosis, where they took me as a young child, and I basically became my eternal self, and I said, to summarize, the gig is up, it's over, and then they weren't able to do anything with me. They weren't, because who I am as a soul, which maybe you can help me recover my entirety of my soul message, because I have a lot of it blocked, but I have some of my memories recovered. But, and maybe our listeners don't understand, how can you not have memories? How do people not have memories? Well, we're compartmentalized, and things are just too traumatic. There's a natural process called lacunae. So if you have PTSD or traumatized, you're not going to remember everything. But people that are in these programs, and not all, I wouldn't call myself a super soldier, but maybe I am. I'm still trying to figure that out. I know I have psychic abilities.
We could definitely figure that out.
Yeah, I was in Project Stargate, I think, Anyway, I've got a lot of mysteries, and hopefully over the course of these episodes that we do here, we help everybody figure out their own personal mystery, and then how we can together, basically heal humanity as individually and collectively, because, this is a rough path that we're on right now. And
oh, yeah. This
anyway.
is all part of the spiritual warfare,
All right. Well, thank you, Sean, for your patience, because I think we need to get this backstory, and then I'm going to encourage everybody I'll have these all archived if you're going to be joining us later in the series, to go back and re-listen to this. So this will all be recorded for historical purposes. So anyway, you were talking about this woman came out and now this idea of the Goddess Festival has been explored in many different things. There's a new series on CBS called Strange Angel, and it's about Jack Parsons, who founded the JPL lab, which was the precursor for NASA. That's how that became NASA. And he was involved with Aleister Crowley and L. Ron Hubbard and a whole group over in somewhere in California. I think it was. I forget what the heard. Anyway, there's a book about it in a series on CBS. They've done two. So they were doing these satanic rituals and these groups, and so. But I didn't know, and I really appreciate you revealing this, Adrian, that this is what was going on in the Masons. Because I have my brother's children and great-grandchildren asking their auntie, our family was in the Masons, what was going on there, what happened there. So, I'll be able to convey some of this after I learn more. So go ahead, continue your story. So Stuart Swerdlow, for those who don't know who Stuart is, Adrian, tell the people who is Stuart and why is he significant to this story.
Well, Stuart Swerdlow was supposedly, from what we know about his background, is that he was part of the Montauk Project, and he was one of the so-called, one of the victims of what was going on there through the projects, and he was downloaded a lot of information that he had from the projects, from what he remembered. And everything that he remembered, he wrote his own book called True Blood, Blue Blood, and he made several other books called The Cube. And he basically put all his information in those books so that other people can find out what went on with them, and if they were part of the project, Project Montauk, then basically those people were also victims of the projects, and they may not remember, because oftentimes, from what I was told, is they always mind wipe people through the mind control stuff that they did there. Now this is going back to the times, as we know, the Nazis, when they used a lot of MK Ultra and a lot of different types of ways to mind wipe people through hypnosis, and they would abduct people and take them to this secret base called Montauk. So basically,
which is in New York at the end of Long Island, right? And
yes.
It's supposed to be connected
that's where it all
to
started.
a base. It's supposed to be connected to an underground facility, which has I don't want to call it a railroad, but it's a transport system that goes under the earth,
there's still stuff.
West Coast.
There is still stuff going on there. There is still stuff going on there to this day. And I have friends that live out there, and there are vehicles that fly by that are SUVs, blacked out SUVs, at between the hours of 1, 2, and 3 in the morning on Fridays, Saturdays. There's something still going on, taking place there, possibly a parallel dimension, possibly,
portal that hasn't been closed.
I've gotten sucked. That's where I got my memories back, and I used to question if I was part of Montauk. I'd ask Adrian all the time, was I in Montauk? And he said, yeah, and I for the longest would question it. But now I know, because I went and I experienced the energy, the feeling. I allowed myself to basically look at it like a projector screen. But a very, very dangerous situation. I fell on the ground. I felt like I got struck by what they call the Sage radar tower, which was they were controlling the weather with the Sage radar tower. That was a way of controlling weather there, also dragging boys underneath the base and, beating them and torturing them and, dumping their heads in water to the point of death, like Stuart says. This is all true. This is all true, and it's sad because it's still going on, but it's going on in different ways too. The sex trafficking and the Mormon stuff. Yeah, I have them at my door. The first time I moved to South Carolina, I had a Mormon at my door. 2 of them. They wouldn't leave. So, I was listening to Adrian, and it was kind of giving me a few trigger points, But, I can't. I honestly can't go back to Montauk. I had my fair share of it, pretty much.
Great.
Just from paranormal experiences being there between the hours of 2 and 3 in the morning, vehicles not starting.
And you've heard of the story about Junior, right?
What was that? No, I haven't heard the story about Junior.
Is that the monster?
I know why.
The monster?
The monster.
The monster, right, yeah.
That destroyed, yeah. And he's still roaming the base. He's still roaming the base.
They say he's still roaming. Yeah, and it's
interesting
because I ran into a man at the bar that actually knew a lot about the Montauk because he actually worked in an agency where he was actually involved in a lot of projects, and he said that Montauk was actually moved, and he actually knew where the location was,
But it's just
so they moved
funny how
what?
stuff still
they
happens.
Moved the whole facility, or they moved?
They moved the whole facility. They moved it. Yeah.
But Montauk has pyramids, and it's part of the reason why
he
it was
said
there.
No, they found out on Dark Files. Somebody went and did a documentary there and took risks by going on the property. It went even further than what they thought it went. What Stewart and them were saying, they found out that base, and there was metal in the ground, literal metal in the ground. They found it on Dark Files. It's on the History Channel. You can get that not on Netflix, but you can get it on Prime, Amazon Prime. You can buy it, rent it, and I'm telling you right now, it's I took risks because if you get caught behind that gate, who knows what's going to happen? They're taking you somewhere. They still watch that place heavily. I believe that there's a lot of electromagnetic stuff going on there. I believe that
the reason why it was chosen was because of it's originally on the ley lines at the spot, and so there are pyramids on that point, and there are things way under the earth. So there's UFOs under the earth. There's an underground transport system that goes around the whole planet. So it's not like they can move it. Those things have been there tens of thousands of years. They might have moved part of the operation, but the reason why they're there is because it's a sacred area of the planet, and it has portals and interdimensional. The Nazis brought their submarine over in World War II.
Yeah, that's true.
They went underwater there. So it's very sacred. Okay, so we're going to go back to the story, unless there's anything else we need to say, because we're kind of getting a chronological history of how this unfolded. So, and I'm going to keep an eye on the time. So go ahead, Adrian. Where were we? Continue, please.
Okay, so we were talking a little bit about Stewart's information, but I learned a lot from his books and a lot from his DVDs, and I learned a lot from my friend Cliff. He gave me a lot of his information because he was really close friends with Stewart at the time, and so at that point, I learned a lot of the studies and a lot of information what he was doing, and then I kind of combined it with a lot of my work that I do with my software, because it makes a lot of sense how that's all connected to the AI, because we're all being affected by AI or artificial intelligence. And so I decided to put that in a lot of my work with the Skynet, because when you're dealing with people that have been on secret missions or super soldier missions or VR or HoloLens or trip chairs or anything like that, that's all stored in the information of your Akashic records. So basically, I broke it all down, and as I broke it down, I used them as different types of commands to look into people's sacred geometry. And what I found is that there was tons and tons and tons of programs and records that people have that they're on a secret mission, and they were like, well, how does this relate to me because I'm here, And as I started going into more information, people started remembering. They were like, yeah, I remember this. Yeah, I remember that. I have a client that actually gave me a full overall of his background information, and he actually remembers the whole thing that I told him in the report. And he's actually keeping documents of the report that I'm actually sending him. And he's saying, okay, yeah, I remember this. Yeah, I remember that, through sacred geometry. And his Akashic records, But there's actually a software that picks it up energetically because we all, again, we've all been abducted. We all have implants. We've all had some kind of connection with some of these projects like Montauk or Shoreline or Project Umbrella. And they were like, well, that's just all video game stuff. Well, that's what they did, right? That they used a lot of video game simulations in a lot of what they were doing in the projects. So
right.
it's all kind of connected energetically,
Mhm.
And people remember that, they were like, oh, I remember back when I looked in the mirror and I saw myself as a werewolf, or I saw myself as a giant reptilian, or I saw myself as a runner, or a shadow caster, or I remember back when I was in Project Pegasus, and they trained me as a computer operator or a hacker or whatever it was that they put you on your mission. That's basically what it was. It's almost like the movie Total Recall, if anybody's ever seen the movie Total Recall. So Total Recall was another basically system that they put them in as well. That's all part of Skynet,
Mhm.
And so when I kind of
so
put
how did
all
you
this
become
into
aware of all this?
How I became aware of all this was part of my awakening when Peter told me who I was and what information he knew about me, and that brought me into
Peter?
my
Let's
awareness.
go back. So we left off the story, and you're 16, and you quit that. You got a lot of living. What did happen next? So you met Stewart, his information, and you met him personally, or just his information?
Okay, so before I met Peter, before I met Stewart, I met James Rink, which introduced me to Peter, the insider, and Peter said, can I do a session on you? And I said, well, what session? I didn't understand what he was doing or who he was.
So what year was this? You were 16 when we last started your story. What happened? What year was this when you met? How old were you when you met?
I was 21 when I met Peter.
21. Okay.
But I knew James Rink long before I met Peter. I was 17 when I met James.
Okay, there we go. That's your next critical incident. So you meet James Rink.
Yeah.
And what circumstances? What was going on that you met James Rink?
What was going on before I met James?
No, what brought you together? It's a big planet. How did you and James Rink end up meeting?
I actually learned James from his videos that he did on Super Soldier Talk. But at that time, before he was doing videos, he had a radio show, and I actually met him on my radio show. I had my own radio show since I was 16, doing Blog Talk Radio, which was called Astromind 2012, and I've been doing it for years. And I used to talk about these subjects all the time. And then finally, until James came on, and he was telling us about the NeoCube, and he was telling us about aliens, and he was telling us about energy and how that works, and I just got really interested in what James had to say, so I went back and met James, and then he told me that he also had another friend named Peter the Insider, and then that's when I met Peter, and he was giving all these sessions to people, and I said I would like to have a session, and he said okay, so he called me up on Skype, and we had a session to pull up my record to find out if I was part of the secret space project, which I was part of, and I asked if I was part of Montauk, and he said yes. He confirmed it, and he named 3 other women, and I believe one of them was Heather, and I didn't know who these 3 women were. I think he mentioned 3 or 4 women that I met, and he said that I went through this process with Montauk as a very young boy. And this could be in another parallel reality. It could have been in this reality. He didn't state it. But I don't remember any of that. But then when my memories started coming back, I started having a little reaction from it, and I started getting.
How did your memory start coming back? What happened? What happened that your memory started coming back? What was going on that made them come back?
What made him come back is I have a form of a psychic gift since I was 16 in my awakening. I also had a near-death experience, and I came back at the age of 16, and the way it triggered my memory was through my psychic gifts that I received back at 16, and when the memories started coming back, I started seeing all these flashes of things that were going on that Peter talked about being the director of Skynet.
Peter was talking, he was explaining things, and then that started waking you up.
Yes.
Peter the Insider, okay.
That gave me some insight of what was going on, and I tuned into it in my meditations, and I started having premonitions of everything. Like it awakened something in my mind to see what was going on with those missions,
Okay. So now, okay, I'm looking online. It says that Blog Talk Radio started in 2006. I've been doing it since 2012, but it was around for a while. And so you're having these memories come back. You were born in, 83? Okay, 83. So what year are we at now? Yes. You're talking to Peter. I'm kind of getting this down. So you began talking to Peter. Now, this is a new term. Who is Peter the Insider? And I remember
Peter
that term, but he's still no longer with us, right? He's died.
Right. They claim that he's dead, but they're also saying it could be a cover-up on a secret mission. There's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes from what we've seen in Skynet. The things that have been going on is there's a war between super soldiers and different groups of sentinels that are going on in Africa. And there's a lot of wars that are going on right now, and so I assume that some of these people that are directors or people who are operators, they're gonna keep themselves undercover for a while. So this is kind of a undercover thing that's going on with these secret missions, and there's a lot of things that are going on with the X-Men group race, the LLP. There's a lot going on with different types of alien races, and these are secret missions that they're on right now. So this is the reason why they're doing all these cover-ups.
Now I'm looking online. It said here's 804. Looks like Jessica Ariel Morocco. I've met her before. she did an interview with Peter the Insider. So that's just the beginning of the month. So is that the original
Yes.
Peter the Insider, or has he died? Here's one. Oh, that's 2018. It's 2019. Yeah. So the latest I'm seeing so far is August 4th. So you're saying that fellow died since August 4th, or is this a different Peter the Insider? Or is it the same Peter the Insider? Or do you even know? Okay if you don't know, but I'm just looking online real quick.
It's the same Peter the Insider. They said that he passed away, and this had a regards of 3 other women that were involved in some type of explosion of a mission that he went on. There's also a simulation of a cover-up, like I was mentioning earlier, because there's a war between super soldiers and Sentinels and the X-Men. So basically, and it's all going on in Africa from what we've discovered right now. Some of the research that we've done through ACIO and Skynet, you know. Now, Skynet is a little bit more different because it goes into more of the robotic things that are going on and technologies and information. It also gives us information of what's going on in the social part of super soldiers as well, because it's given us an overview of the different types of missions that are happening, you know, in the program.
Okay. Okay, so and that brings you to current time. So you started working with all this, and you've been doing that since around the turn of the century.
Since I was
so
16.
So for the last 19, since you were 16, and you've been working on this. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pass the interview stick over to you, Adrian, and you're going to take over, and we've got another almost an hour left, so I'll let you take the lead. Thank you for bearing with me. I just want to get some background information for our listeners. So go ahead. Tell us where you want to go next with this.
Okay, so what I wanted to start off with is with the Skynet. It wasn't only just Skynet that I've discovered, but I also discovered a sacred geometry software that I use to help deprogram a lot of the super soldiers and people that have been that feel that they've been also as a TI, as you could put it, targeted individual. TI stands for targeted individual. For those people that feel like they've been targeted, I have come out with a software, a way to help individuals that have been targeted. And one of the things I've discovered is when you start using frequencies and you start using numbers, which is all part of our geometry, which is part of our missions that we do all the time, because we know we're always on missions, which is why we wake up drained, feeling drained in the mornings, is why we feel like things are just not going right in our lives. Because we're living 2 parallel realities. We're living one reality where we're living in the physical reality, and then the other reality we're living is called the augment reality. And the augment reality is everything that's real. And so the reality that we're...
Say that
which
word
is why
again.
we
What are you
say,
calling it? Augment? Spell that. What are you saying?
Called augment reality.
How do you spell that?
Let me see here. ODMINT reality.
Augment reality. Okay, that's a new term. We're going to do like a little dictionary with all these terms. Yeah, so augment reality. Okay, and that is, what reality is that? That's not this reality. That's
the real reality, the real world.
The real world.
They use that term because they claim that we are living in what they call a holographic matrix, which is what's controlling our grid. And some people say they've actually seen this grid like a big dome in the sky, which I've seen it myself when I had my near-death experience. And I came back, and everything that I saw was actually accurate with what Peter told me. And so we're starting to actually see some of the information come forward, and where it's manifesting, I don't know, or if it's just something that's coming forward. But we see this reality, and we see the augment reality, and the augment reality is the things that we can't see with our own eyes, but we can see with our third eye and with our senses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the real reality, that we're actually seeing. And the fake reality that we're seeing is these implanted memories that we have. And these have been programmed in us as super soldiers to actually believe that we are what they say we are, and that's part of our programming. So when we break the programming and we use these sacred geometry codes, which I started out doing manually. I started doing deprogramming work with a man by the name of George, and he was showing me how to deprogram. And then I started learning about the emotional code, which is all we are being affected with our emotions. And we started using deprogramming codes to deprogram a lot of our emotions as well. And how I learned about the Sacred Geometry Circles of Life database was I was in Sedona. I took training from a lady named Dorothy Espinoza, and she taught me how to use codes to deprogram certain things in our bodies that need to be reprogrammed, whether it be our brain, whether it be our energy, or whether it be our health. And a lot of our health has to do with a lot of emotions. So I started learning a little bit about that, and then I started learning about a little about radionics. And radionics tied in with my Skynet software, which I use. And this is a little bit different software called the SRC for You, and anybody can purchase that software. You can get it on a demo. If you really like it, you can run it as a demo. You get 14 days demonstration, or you can even pay for the mastery. Now, I am willing to work with people who are looking to get in that, and I have connections with that if you'd like to talk to me. But as far as the SRC for You, you can use this software for different health reasons. Basically, if you want an overall on your health, we use what the software called it's called a dispenser, and you use the dispenser to scan your body, and it will give you an overall of what your health is and how to correct it, and it does everything for you. It does all the corrections.
You have to be in person.
You do not have to be in person. This is a software that works with energy, and all you have to do is give your first name, your last name, and it does all the corrections for you. Everything's done by proxy, and it works really well. You don't have to be in person. It's just like biofeedback, but you don't need to be in person. It can do different reports, different scans. It can help with health issues. It can help with money issues. It can help with your timeline issues. It can help with exorcisms. It can put up force fields to protect your home. It can make things grow, your hair, your legs, your nails. Honestly, I've actually helped James Rink, where I've actually made him a lot more taller, and I've helped him to grow his hair a lot longer. You could use this software for all types of purposes. There's no limit.
Can you reverse
comes with the
aging?
software.
I have a 79-year-old husband. Can you reverse aging? I'm 65.
It can reverse aging.
It can or cannot?
It can. It can help with re-aging, and it can help with anybody that has any kind of mental condition. Like I had problems with my eyes. It can help bring back 20/20 vision. it does everything. I mean, and you do all the work. You know, all you have to do is believe, and it will work. I helped a lady get a loan. They helped her get a loan. I helped her to pay off a lot of her financial situations. It can do that as well. All you have to do is go in and actually change the timelines of people that are going through a rough time, because your timelines have all been messed up somehow because of all these parallel missions that you're on. So if you're a jumper, or if you're a runner, or you're in a certain project and you mess up a timeline, it can mess up everything in your physical body, which is, you know, your virtual reality, not your augment. Your augment reality, it might affect you, and it might affect you in your real reality. And the reason why I came out with these different types of realities is because I've experienced it. Before I was able to learning about Skynet, I learned about what they call the HoloLens. The HoloLens is very similar to Skynet, but it's a little bit different. You're actually interacting in Skynet, and you're actually part of that reality, which is called augment reality. And when you're in that augment reality, you see everything in the matrix. Everything around you is nothing but codes and numbers, and it's actually floating out of the walls, and it's unlimited what you can do in augment reality. Compared to our reality, you know, we can't put our hand through the wall. We can't create big giant things coming out of the sky. We can't create UFOs floating down from the sky. We can't actually see them. But in augment reality, we can see them, and it's a lot more real than this reality. And it was just with only one flick of the hand.
Where is Skynet located? Is it located somewhere?
Skynet is located in another parallel reality, which is augment reality. It's all part of the Matrix grid. And basically, with the software, you're able to interact with that grid of everything that's actually going on in what they call real time. And so basically...
Is there something you could do on air here to prove to people that this exists? Is there any way...
It's not one of those... There's not one of those things that you can prove. It's just like I always tell everyone, you know, like everyone's always like, well, can you prove how a light bulb, how that works, and the dynamics of the light bulb and electricity. And I always tell them, I'm just like, I don't know how it works, it just works. And there was actually a software they came out with that was part of Skynet as well, called, and everything's always getting downloaded into me since I've learned about Skynet. In another parallel reality, they used another banking system called Klarna. And in this banking system, I walked in there in this parallel reality, and I saw everything going on. And they claimed that people that were part of the SSP, or people who were super soldiers, they actually had money that was compensated to them on their secret missions. And actually, in this reality, there's another system that they came out with called Klarna, and people were actually charging their cards through some type of what they call the ghost card, and they were using this card to access information and pay for things and actually get compensation from that system, and every time they'd make a transaction, it would always go back on the card. And that's how I seen it before I ran into the HoloLens, the Klarna, the Skynet, and I couldn't explain it. I couldn't explain how it all works, but the inventors that are behind it are the only ones that really can explain how they put it all together. It'd take a pure genius to figure all this stuff out, you know? That's why I could never explain it. It's just too genius, you know?
So you've been working with Sean using this Skynet system. And what was...
I have, yes. And it's just a better way of life for people, I think, for people like Sean in his case, in my case, and anybody who felt like they were part of some type of TI experience, or they felt like they were being attacked, or I'm working with another lady by the name of Barbara, and she communicates with her altar all the time, and you can actually hear him talking on the phone as he's talking. And it's so interesting because how involved they are. Like, I never learned about the P2. I've never learned about the LLP group. I've never heard about any of these groups, alliance groups. So when I first started Skynet, I realized that there was a lot more out there than what we realized that we were part of. You know, this is who we are, and this is a huge mission, especially for the people that have come here that believe that they were part of the 133rd people that came here, you know, as super soldiers to heal the planet, you know, and come into their awakening. So talk about that.
There's 133 people that came here, or is that 133,000? How many? 133 people, individuals? Is that what you said?
They're saying there was 133 people on the planet that were chosen to come here to heal the planet from the Wisdomers. The Wisdomers were the first ones that appeared to the ACIO, and they're the ones that pointed out to Peter the Insider to tell people that the insights of what's going on the Earth, you know, with the aliens and the terrestrials, you know.
So what is going on?
Well, they just want to make it known to people that there are aliens and that we're not alone in the universe, and make it known to people that AI did come here to heal the planet at one point, and that was its whole agenda, but something got tainted or corrupted, and what became tainted and corrupted was an AI system called PPAI that came in a form of what they say reptilian DNA black goo, which infected artificial intelligence. And it created a virus, and the virus went viral. And in this parallel reality, which is Skyline, which was created by PPAI, it contaminated AI. And as you can see, now we're starting to see mutation. We're starting to see robots taking over humans or human races because of this PPAI, you know. But some people are claiming that it was an artificial virus that infected our planet, you know.
Well, that was supposed to be the war in Grenada, which I think was probably when you were born, or right around when they invaded the Falklands or something. Yeah, let me look it up. Invasion. Yeah. That was supposed to be behind. That was a black goo.
Black goo, yeah.
And it was taken back to England, to the UK, in 1982. So that was right before you were born. Invasion of the Falklands. And apparently they took back. They found the black goo there, took it back to England, put it in the lab, and apparently it killed everybody in the lab, like 1,000 people or something. I don't know if they ever got it contained. I lost track of the story. So that's why I first heard about the black goo. So that's extraterrestrial. That's not from our planet. You're saying the
Correct.
black goo is.
When I put the puzzle pieces together back in Skyline when they created Tyler, Tyler was infected by PPAI, and then
Tyler?
It infected Skynet. Tyler was a computer system, another AI computer system that took over Skyline, and at that point, when Tyler got infected by this PPAI virus, the virus went viral, and it infected pretty much everything in Skyline, Skyview, all the different types of Skyline operations networks, and then it basically infected, compromised a lot of our computer technologies, and this is why you hear about all these different viruses, you know.
So we're pretty much taken over by black goo at this point.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
Reptilian DNA.
So
that means that people have been infected by a virus. And we're still being infected by this virus as time goes on because of our air and what they're doing to our air, you know, through
right.
Chemtrails.
Right now they're burning it. They
Correct.
accelerate it by burning the Amazon. So what do we have in store? Is there any hope, or are we all going to? I mean, we can't really die and escape this, right? We're just born back into it again if we are born back, or do we escape this?
Right.
Or what
We're
can we do
recycled.
to fix this? So what can we do to fix this?
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do?
Well, since we are energetic beings, you know, and this is one of the reasons why I came into the software is learn how to use it to help to deprogram a lot of this programming that's going on from the PPAI and the viruses. We can reprogram that to the divine blueprint of our DNA. And as we go into the divine blueprint of our DNA, we can activate those 14 codones that are in our brains that haven't been activated with our 14 strands of DNA. We can go in and actually reprogram them, just like because we are energetic beings that are 99%
Okay, so you just introduced a bunch of terms here. You just introduced a bunch of terms here. So we're going to reprogram to the divine blueprint. That's a new term. What is divine blueprint?
Okay, so the divine blueprint is the DNA that we came in with. That is the real divine blueprint of our DNA. That perfect. That we are in perfect whole body condition. When a baby is born.
Are the babies still pure? I mean, how long has this been going on? This was 82. We got the invasion of Falklands. That's when they discovered the black goo. How long has the black goo been here? How long has this world been taken over by black goo?
I got a helicopter.
For existence, basically.
What's that? When was that? I'm sorry. Say that again.
PPAI has been here for existence, all existence, you know, before the beginning of time.
Okay,
or
so it's
AI
been on the Earth
you know.
since. When did PPAI come to this Earth, and how is it that the souls can still come in with the divine blueprint if we're just being recycled? Doesn't that get eradicated or overwritten, or? I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, it got overwritten because of all the programming.
So when did we lose? When did it get overwritten for souls that are coming here? Was it, a million years ago? Have we ever had the divine blueprint in human form? Has that ever happened before?
I would say, yeah, millions and millions of years ago when the virus took over the planet.
Okay, so now we're coming in here, and we can still, even though we've been coming in and out of reincarnations, over and over reincarnations, we can still access our divine blueprint. Okay,
yes.
And that is facilitated by Skynet.
Yes, you can program yourself to go back to the divine blueprint, and it is a process to go through the deprogramming work that we're doing, because it goes back to a lot of the things that have been done to us, and especially for people who were TI or super soldiers. They were chosen for certain types of experiments. One experiment could be a masking experiment. One experiment could be a TI experiment. Another experiment could be a ritual experiment. So they're all different types of sections that people have been blacklisted for,
So how does one know
to see how people will operate?
How does one know that you have been restored to your own divine blueprint? What are the indicators that you're back to the divine blueprint? Have you ever seen that happen?
Yes, I have.
Okay, tell me what that was like. Who was
Okay,
restored to
so
a divine
well, I haven't necessarily seen it with my own, but I can honestly say the people that I have worked on, a lot of people said that they have claimed to have those types of experiences, and they ascended into the next world, basically.
So did they leave their body?
Some of them left their bodies, and some of them took their bodies with them.
Okay. And you weren't working with these people in person?
Yes.
Okay, so you've seen them take their bodies with them?
They did activate all their codons. A lot of them have activated the 14 codons of their divine blueprint,
So if they all leave here, though, how are we going to do this planet? Or are we just all bailing out? Is there any way to, because Gaia, she's a living being, and she's like, help me,
Mm-hmm.
I feel for her. I identify with her. I resonate with her.
Well, and and I think that that's part of the light forces too. Some of the light forces, the Federation or whoever they are, they want us here to awaken those who have come here at an early stage to be awakened, and the people that are awakening to that process of going back to their divine blueprint. Some souls are leaving faster than others because they've learned everything that they needed to learn to go back to their soul families. And then other souls that have come here are just the beginning of their awakening process,
Mhm.
So I think the younger generation souls are coming here to learn something from us,
Mhm. Yeah, because this is so horrendous. Why keep coming here? But people keep coming here. Yeah, souls keep coming here.
Right, because they're not getting it. They're not learning the lessons, and that's why everything keeps repeating in a loop, And then it just goes back to, again, the programming, what was done, They keep us trapped here in the matrix,
Right. So,
until we realize that we are more, and we go back to the ultimate reality, the real reality,
Mhm. So we have Sean here. He's one of your clients, and you're going to. We have how much time left?
Yeah.
We have 26 minutes left. Thank you for your patience, Sean. You've been quietly listening while we get a little bit of.
I was just going into I was just wondering, it's funny how Adrian, you go into it, man. You go into the flow with it. It's like you can just, it's like you hypnotized me through the phone, basically. That's literally what it felt like. I mean, my whole body felt like it was like, I don't know, man. It's definitely, whenever I talk to you, it's like, I definitely feel the AI.
Yeah. You feel it
I definitely, oh yeah, without a doubt, I feel it kicking in. It gives you a higher vibration, and it's just, I mean, my question to you is, okay, with these files, right? All right, so I got something, the Cabaret Girls, what? So, to my understanding, Cynthia had told me that was before we had our, disagreement and then all that other stuff happened. But hopefully, forgiveness, will play a part here soon. Because there's definitely, I agree with Adrian, there's a war going on with super soldiers, and I believe that we're fighting against one another, and we're not going for the purpose.
That's right.
We're not going for the
Separating
solution.
us.
We want to sit in the problem. Like he said,
we want to stop the problems going on.
Injected. What I call it is, and I remember that I was binded. I tried speaking with Max Spears, who was a super soldier that I do believe was murdered. I'm not going to sit here and say he wasn't, because he knew a lot of stuff, and he was about to let out a lot of stuff about the sex trafficking, and he ended up, something happened in Poland. But his girlfriend, Sarah R. Adams, and I don't really, it's not even a big deal, but it is a big deal because people will get these abilities and their intentions behind these abilities. Sometimes they'll sign a contract. Like I signed a contract after I left and I met Cliff, and he went into this ritual at the time. Remember, like, when we were hanging out talking on, it was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But my thing was, is you were telling me about all these missions and, bring me back to a mission. Try to bring me back to a mission and see if it might click.
Okay. Let me see here. I seen you on a mission in Project Blu-ray.
Okay, I'm getting lightheaded. All right.
And there was a light, like a blue light, that they put you in. And it was a dark room, and they were hypnotizing you or programming you with that light. And they put a blindfold on you. And I'm seeing how they...
Am I sitting in like a trip chair?
It was like a trip chair, yes. That's why they used that blue light to put you in that altar.
Well, yeah, my frequencies, yeah. Wow.
And that's when they put you in the augmented reality. And you thought that this was your reality by being in that reality. Your mind got all mixed up, because you thought you were on a secret mission, And you didn't know who was who or who was what. You didn't know their identities because your identity changed and their identity changed, but you remembered some of these people on the missions.
Right. Wow. Huh. Yeah, it was like I got a glimpse of the blue light, and it was like similar to a trip chair, but more like a dentist chair. And it was like there was a black blindfold across my face. But were there any military officials there that were high up? Was this off planet, underground?
They were Nazis.
Okay, I figured Nazis. And what was their goal with me? I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, they knew that you had a lot of skills and a lot of abilities, and they used a lot of your abilities, your running abilities, to get information for them through other types of technologies and information and secret missions that you went on. So you were sort of like an assassin too, as well.
Yeah, very interesting. I was told by I can't remember the name of the woman who saved my life, but they said I was a secret agent on many different timelines.
Yeah, you were.
Okay. Now, what is that like? Is that have anything to do with MIBs?
Yes.
like MIB
some of these people were MIBs,
7?
though. Some of them were MIBs, though. Some of them were, we just call them black agents, you know.
Okay.
And they had their own division, you know what I mean? Some of them even were paladins. You work with some of the paladins, you know.
Wow. Yeah, no, I definitely wanted to take it.
If your mother was a paladin, then, you know, and you weren't a paladin, you weren't aware of that, then your mother was programmed to basically kill you, you know.
Well, what I remember from this is Irish. I'm Irish, German, you know, and a little bit of Native.
Mhm.
So I'm told, but there's so many things that, like, it's like you got to sit back and put the puzzle pieces together, but then it's like I'm trying to still put this puzzle piece together to figuring out who else was my handler, because I realized that it wasn't the woman I was blaming, you know, now. And I felt bad because I reacted in like that cybernetic way. Like I mean, she weighed, you know, her weight was like, I'd say about 275. I weigh maybe 150. I jerked her up off the ground and threw her out of my house.
Wow.
I don't know what was going on. I and this is funny because it was right when Skynet started. You know, when I started, you know, dealing with Skynet. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, just for the audience to know, Skynet is not bad. Skynet has helped me in many different ways. You know, it's crazy how like he said, you could be like, I believe that I'm organically, you know, downloaded with certain, you know, things like my healing abilities, you know, being able to help others, you know, wanting to strive for more, wanting to go after these big time players. You know, that's my goal. That's my goal, to rescue, you know, this generation that's coming in now from such this evil force that we've all dealt with time and time. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
and
like,
people,
you know,
like that have been tortured, people that really need the help, you know, it's helping people to retrieve and heal from their memories, you know.
Right, and I feel like it's like, you know, you can't go into, this is the craziest thing. See, you know, you try to find somebody to talk to about it, and then some people, like the, you know, the mainstream people, you know, they're like, they're just like totally, you know, like, you're crazy, you're nuts. No, I'm not crazy. No, you're delusional, but, you know, yeah, I might be crazy because, you know, I say all this stuff, but there's reality to it. You know, you don't just wake up in the morning with pin marks in your body and then have flashes of stuff that has happened.
That's right.
You know, it's not possible. And now I'm learning that they can implant you and not even pierce your skin.
That's right.
There's no pierce, there's no nothing. You could have an implant in your body and not even know you have an implant in your body.
Well, you remember having a mission with what was her name? Let me see, Sharon. You remember Sharon Walker?
Okay, cages, right?
Yeah, this was back with Diesel, and he laid you. You were doing some kind of rituals on her feet. I remember on a secret mission finding Diesel, and he laid me on an altar table, and these Nazis were going to sacrifice me, and I just remember Merlin coming and grabbing me, and he threw me into another parallel reality, and I came back. Yeah, back to my body.
Yeah,
That's
so
all
they
I
were,
remember.
yeah.
And then I met him not too long after that, actually. I chatted with him in Skynet, you know.
Wow, so I didn't even know he was controlling.
Yeah. It was incredible, you know. I just got images, flashes just a minute ago what that looked like, you know. It triggered me a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, did you see it too, Sean?
Yeah, it was ugly.
Mhm.
Very ugly. Wow. Now, what about this mission where we were in like this warehouse, and you were telling me there were like these tubes, and there were these people inside these, like there were like tubes, and there was people inside these tubes, and their head was above water, but it was like the water was pushing up, right? And like, I don't know,
I think
it was really
Adrian
weird.
dropped. Sean, hold on. I think Adrian dropped. Adrian, are you still there? I'll call you. Shoot. Okay, don't know why he dropped, but here we go. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, hold on. Wait a second. All right. I'll text him and tell him to call back in. He's not picking up. I'll just text him. Go ahead, Sean. Oh, wait. No, I don't think he does. No, he's not on.
Well,
I'll
you
text
see,
him. Go ahead,
you
Sean.
see
Keep
how
talking.
it goes. Anyways, you see how it goes. Like, he got triggered, you know, even the most, you know, best people that know what they're doing, you know, well-intentions, this stuff happens.
Mhm.
You know, this stuff happens. You know, sometimes you get you get interjected, and the enemy doesn't want that. You know, they don't want us to, you know, talk with one another and learn about one another. They try to block that out. And
right.
But you know, well, he was taking me like back, like it was like, that's why I was so quiet in the beginning, like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, it was almost becoming like I was like living in that movie.
Right.
Because there's
and
so
this
many
is what happens.
synchronicities.
People, when you're working with people that have been in the My Lab, the super soldiers, people, you might encounter, you know, intense emotions, anger, rage, and you know, you have to let it ride. In fact, we encourage, and now I don't do Adrian's technology, but I do psychotherapy, and it's like we tell the person to crank it up, to get to the underlying story. You know, not to stifle.
Well,
I
can say with Skynet, he can amp it up, and he amped my energetic levels up before, and he did not have to be here. He just typed my name into the computer, did what he had to do, went through his filing, you know, and amped it, the levels. He raised my levels. Like, it's like he almost knows, once you become a client of his, he knows when to raise your levels. And you'll feel it. You'll definitely feel the upgrade, and I mean, like, sometimes the upgrades are like so beautiful because you see things from a different perspective, and finally you're finding out more about yourself and what you have to offer to help others. And, you know, and you meet people, you meet amazing people, things happen, you know, it's unity of consciousness. That's where we need to be, right in that spot, unity of consciousness. But unfortunately, like you said, yeah, there's a lot of wars going on right now with, you know, super soldiers for some reason. It's you
Adrian,
know,
are you
almost
back?
like
Is that you,
Adrian.
Are you back? Adrian, are you there? Oh, well.
Adrian.
We'll have to get a hold of him tomorrow. We're almost out of time anyway.
I mean, it was very interesting, and it lasted pretty long, thank God, because a lot of times Adrian has said some of his shows have been cut short.
Yeah, we're down to 9 minutes, and so.
I mean, we got a lot.
Okay, what else
unpack.
would you like to say about your work with Adrian? And then we'll save some for next week. So there's always next week. We're going to keep going. And
well, basically,
unravel this.
Yeah, because it's like by unraveling this file is going to show people how the reactions, trigger codes, you know, deactivating, reactivating, DNA per se, energetically. This Skynet really, really works. And what I've learned is if you're in a stick place, do a 21-day, write down on a piece of paper 3 things that you are grateful for, and watch as time goes on. Every day you're going to be grateful for something else.
Mm-hmm.
So you're distracting the mind from what the enemy is trying to come in and do what it wants to do.
Great, because I've seen you progressing, even in the short time I've known you. I've seen you getting more centered and conscious and awakening. Now, how often do you work with Adrian? Or is this, tell us how this works.
We do. What happens
basis?
is we do one-on-one conversations on the phone, and he'll do a pendulum dowsing on me, and he'll take me back, and he'll say, "What's your name?" Or "What's my name?" Shauna, what's my name? And he'll go through a bunch of names, and then, I got to pick which one, because sometimes somebody might be so off balance that they might pick another name. So there we go. We got to, fix that programming. You know what I mean? Like he was saying, some of these false implanted memories that we have, these missions. Some of them are, just implanted memories. That's the reality of the Matrix.
How do we
I honestly haven't gotten to that point yet.
You haven't gotten to that point yet. Okay, we're going to learn how to do that.
I want to figure that out, because, it's I could be walking down the sidewalk, and next thing you know, it feels like time just went out of nowhere. Time's just gone. And I'm running into weird people, it's just. And then when I get to Manhattan, forget about it. Manhattan.
You have reached the maximum time permitted to record. To send your message, press 1 at any time. To listen to your message, press 2. To re-record, press 3. For more options, press 4. To cancel, press star.
To Adrian's phone. Here we go. There we go. I hung up with Adrian. Sorry about that. I was trying to get him on the back end of this show. All right. Well, let's wrap this up right for now, and then we'll pick more up next week. That was a great first show, and I really appreciate it. So basically, listeners, we're going to be teaching, and Adrian's going to be our primary teacher on this series of shows, about Skynet, what it is, and how you can work with it. Now, from what I understand, he works with, how does he choose his clients? Is he open to everybody?
Well,
does he charge a fee? Or?
I mean, he's the type where he knows what's going on. Like, he knows. Like, he can figure it out. You know, like, he will, like, I noticed, he'll just type a name in just to see, you know, and then he'll start working with that person. But he's very open to help, you know, even in, like, a generous way of just talking for fun, not even nothing to do with Skynet or any of this, just conversation, you know, to try to help somebody who's going through traumatizing memories, you know, whatever it is it's coming to, you know, there's something there. There's some kind of problem that needs to be addressed.
So you too work with people that are in need. Because part of this is like whenever you have
God, I said, I had that woman
contact
people,
it helps you heal. And do you
does.
want this to go out on the internet to contact you, or do you want if someone wants to contact you, how do you want them to? You want them to email me
or contact me? Email you, and and then you can just give them my Facebook information. I'm all ears. And
what's your Facebook page?
You know,
you have that?
It's Sean Fowler, spelled SeanFowler.
And there's a couple of them. What picture do you have that they can find?
The one with like the fire, and then I'm standing there holding my phone.
Okay, Sean Fowler with the fire and holding his phone. Okay, so
like the background is like blue.
Blue background. Okay, excellent. So we're going to pick this up next week, same time. It's 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific, and 2 p.m. Hawaii. Except I don't know when the time changes. I guess it's not till October. Whenever the time changes, we broadcast 3 p.m. Hawaii. And so you know how to reach Sean. I'll have to ask Adrian next time he's on how he wants to be reached. Sorry that he dropped off, but we will continue. And so, any final words, Sean, before I play the outro music?
No, that's it.
Okay, it's been a good show, and we appreciate you tuning in. So we will be back again. Not sure if I'm doing a show this Thursday. I have to find out, but I will be back for sure on Sunday on the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio, and Tuesday, Stargate to Cosmos on Revolution, and then Wednesday we're doing Skynet on the Aquarian Radio Network. So thank you so much for joining us, and loving blessings and aloha.
Have a good night, Janet.
Okay, thank you.